this be? Like, how did you see this? What are your thoughts? All thoughts are good thoughts. Let's put them out there.
My group thought it was a piecewise function.
And where do you see like kind of pieces changing?
At -1 and +1, it goes from like an upside down curve to like kind of curving up.
So it kind of goes from this to this to this.
Yeah.
So you're saying right there at -1 and right there at +1. All right, cool. Other thoughts?
My group also thought of it as a piecewise function, but the way I saw it was one parabola that's positive and then one that's negative, but it only took the positive y values.
So you're saying like maybe a positive parabola here, positive quadratic, and then right there you're saying maybe it's a negative quadratic. And that makes it so it actually ends up only taking positive values, kind of where we just split it. Other thoughts? So this leaves me with a couple wonderings. First of all, if we're seeing it as a quadratic or parabola, what parabola is it? And then second, when as soon as Lauren, it was you talking, right? Yeah. Anyway, whoever was talking last, because I didn't look up at the name, I apologize. But as soon as she said it only takes the positive values, right? That's like, I wonder if this is absolute value. You know? Like, if I'm only getting positive stuff, it makes me wonder if it's absolute value. Particularly because we're saying both functions are the same type of function, like a positive quadratic or a negative quadratic, right? Like, I'm wondering if it's the same quadratic. If it's not, then it's not absolute value. But if it is, well, then probably is. So the question becomes, what quadratic function is this? And we had some thoughts from groups on what this might be. So why don't you share those, please?
So my group was thinking that we're kind of focusing on the parabola where you can see the vertex of it, like the top. And we were thinking that that was the parent function, but that it was negative and shifted up to 1.
So take x squared, make it negative to reflect it, and then shift it up 1.
Yeah.
Love that thought. So you're wondering if that's the purple one. And if you test it, you were spot on, right? All right, so what about the other stuff then? Or, yeah, what about the other stuff?
So when you reflect that function, you would get positive x squared minus 1. And, like, looking at it, when you plug in x is 2, that would get you the point 3. Which lines up with the graph we have. Because like 2 squared minus 1 is 3.
So you're saying that here we actually just have kind of the entire reflection of this. Like it's like you reflect that entire purple thing over the x-axis. That hump that's above the x-axis will become below. And these these points that are down here will actually now be up where we had wanted them.
Yeah.
What is this making us feel like it is? Come on, people. Thoughts?
I was kind of thinking that it reminded me of absolute value because if you look at the purple function and you look at where it's under the x-axis, it's kind of the same thing as the orange function. Just if you have the absolute value of the purple function, it's like it has this, it like turns into the orange function.
Right. Or, I mean, you can even see it the way Dan saw it. And Dan saw it as like, hey, take that middle hump that you were looking at and reflect it down. Or sorry, sorry, did I say that backwards? take this part and reflect it up, or, you know, whatever. You get the idea, right? It almost looks like it's reflections of each other. So it seems like it is truly the absolute value maybe of x squared minus 1. Would that work?
I don't think it would matter which one you plug in for that. I think both of them are the same thing.
Awesome. I love that thought, Dan. Why do you think that wouldn't matter?
Because when talking about like absolute value, we look at the value we have away from x, like the positive number. So like it wouldn't matter which one you get because you're getting the same y value whether it's positive or negative.
So those are really the same distance from the x-axis is what you're saying. So it wouldn't matter because absolute value is going to make it positive.
Yeah.
I see Dan's thoughts. I don't see Dan's thoughts. So what if we're going to come over here then, and like I like the earlier thought, hey, let's write this as a piecewise function. What might it look like if we start to write it as a piecewise function? And really, we've already done most of the heavy lifting, right? Haven't we identified the multiple pieces? We've said like it's x squared minus 1 sometimes, and it's negative x squared plus 1 other times. And really look at the comparison between those two. How do those two things compare to one another? Like how are they related?
It would be like if you had a negative coefficient in front of like the whole thing.
So like x squared minus 1 and then shove a negative coefficient on the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's really like take whatever was there and make it become the opposite. No different than we saw with the absolute value of x, right? It's taking it whenever it's negative, whenever this stuff is negative, we're going to make an extra negative so it becomes positive, right? And if this stuff inside of there was positive, well, we can just leave it alone. So the question becomes, when do we use each of these functions? So when do we use, and I've got so much stuff going on here. Let's try to get rid of a little bit of it. When do we use, the orange one, which is this, and when do we use the purple one, which is this? Thumbs up once you have a thought. Fists in front of your face if you're still thinking. Mia Cooper, go.
Well, for the purple one, it would be when x is greater than negative 1, but less than positive 1.
So just in the kind of this middle section right here. Agrees, disagrees? So then when we use the other one? Keep going, Mia.
Well, so at this point I'm kind of confused because it goes from like negative 1 and then anything less than negative 1, but it also goes like greater than positive 1. Wait, we can do that?
Why not?
Like two.
Sure. And we could just write like, and really we're saying we want to use this when x is less than negative 1 or when x is greater than 1, right? Like if one of those things is true, we want to do this. Now, if you wanted to, Mia, because you didn't seem to, you're like, ooh, that's kind of weird. I can do that. You could have also done this, right? That would still work. We could kind of see it as 3 pieces. So if you do see it as 3 pieces, like here's a piece, here's a piece, here's a piece, well, there we go. That's fine too. There's nothing wrong with it because it's the same thing. What questions do we have on this one? So again, what have we seen with both of our problems at this point? What are we taking away from both of our problems at this point?